are listening to the All Metal Mode podcast with your host, Mike Hare. Join me and Gypsy Jules every Monday night and Matt Hoffman and myself every Tuesday night. Listen in as we discuss a wide range of metal detecting and related topics such as technical, equipment, talk to guests, and so much more. Sit back, join in on the drinking game. For those new to the show, every time I say relic machine, you need to do a shot. These are the rules. I didn't make them up. We hope you enjoy this episode of All Metal Mode. Hey everybody, this is Mike and you're listening to the All Metal Mode podcast. Tonight's special guest is Elizabeth Mueller. We've had her on, I know at least a couple times, and she's filled in a couple times, and so she's no stranger. Of course, Matt will be joining us tonight, and should be fun. I really enjoy talking with Elizabeth. Follow her. I would check her out on Facebook, Instagram. She's all the time posting pictures and stuff. And I kind of got something funny. I tell everybody that I want to tell her that I just think's hilarious, but we'll wait till we get her on. Before we get to that, Thursday night, 2 p.m. Thursday night, 8 p.m. GMT, which is 2 p.m. Central here in the United States. I will be doing All Metal Mode UK with guest Delic Gonale, and I am sure I butchered her last name. She is from Nocta Macro, and she will be our guest talking about Nocta Macro and some of their detectors and pretty much everything that came out at Detective, all their new detectors and equipment. ArchMDMag.com will be giving away a multi-cruiser live on the show as it's going on. You'll have to be in chat, but it's for UK listeners only, or at least it's got to be an address in the UK. So at least tune in. I think it'll be a great time. Delic is just very passionate about the company. She's not much of a detectorist. She has detected some, but she's fun to talk with. She's very knowledgeable on detectors. What else was there before we get started? I wanted to tell you there's several ways you can listen now. allmetalmode.com, of course, Spreaker. Allmetalmode.com, it's live. Just like if you're on Spreaker, it's live. You can join chat through the All Metal Mode page. If you miss the show, you can download it from Spreaker. You can go to iTunes, iHeartRadio, and I don't know if it's out there yet. I don't even know how to use it, but we'll be on Spotify pretty soon. So, several different ways you can listen. You can listen to the archives, to the previous shows. You can download them, all that good stuff. So, good times. How's it going, Matt?
Oh, not too bad, not too bad. It's been, weather finally cooled off here in northeast Ohio, and prime time metal detecting now going down.
Mm-hmm. All them fields are getting cleared out.
It's funny, though. I still see a lot they still haven't pulled stuff out of the fields, and I don't know what they're waiting on, but they need to kick it in gear.
Right. Elizabeth, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Good to hear.
Doing well.
Very good.
I actually went metal detecting earlier today. I got back a little while ago. And that was fun. I have an area I've been going to.
You've been killing it lately with some really cool stuff.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
I was going to say, you seem to find some of the most unique stuff that I've ever seen. Like, I don't know if it's your area or what, but like everything's so ornate. Like that. Was it a pencil holder? Possibly somebody said it might be a pencil holder or something else. I forget. That thing was so ornate.
Yeah.
That silver piece. That was way cool.
Oh, thank you. That, yeah, I'm still not entirely sure what that is supposed to hold. I intend to kind of see if I can slowly get the two parts apart to see if there's traces of anything in there on the inside. But yeah, that was awesome when I found that. It was really covered in iron debris kind of stuff, and it was ringing up low, especially for silver, but it's stamped sterling. So that was really fun. Yeah, just, there's just certain areas that have where people used to dump their trash a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Dumpster,
And,
great site. Great place to
yeah,
detect and just dig through.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I know I've told you this, but when I came across you initially, I came across you on Instagram, and I've never thought of the Northwest as being very productive metal detecting. I know there's some gold hunters out that way and stuff like that, and I'm not saying stuff doesn't get found, but from that area, like I don't know anybody who makes the finds like you in that area, and I'm sure there are people, but that's what initially got my attention with you, and very impressive. I mean, on a pretty regular basis, you're posting some really good stuff out of the Northwest, for sure.
Oh, thanks. There's parts of the Seattle area that are really old, and other parts of Washington state that are as well. And so I'm also part of a metal detecting club in the area, and there are some really talented detectorists. I just don't think they're not really online very often, so I don't know that they make themselves known online. But yeah, no, this area is really not, it goes back to like 1860 something, I believe. And so just right after the Civil War right around there that, Washington state. But even despite that, yeah, no, there's just certain pockets of areas around here that are really pretty amazing.
Do you do a lot of research? I've never really asked you that, I don't think.
Well, sometimes I have on historic aerials. Okay. That website, I can look things up. To an extent, but not too much.
Not too. She's like, nah, not too much. I just get out and do it. I go out and find it. What I was going to say that I absolutely, I think is so cool about you is, okay, I don't know how long ago it was, but it was a while back. Like one day you posted a picture and you're like, here's, a model shoot I done recently. And I don't remember. I think it was a dark dress. It might've been black. And you're like, your hair's all done up and makeup and all this stuff. And then like the next day or 2 days later, you post a picture and your hair's pulled back. You got mud dripping off your face. There's like a close-up of you holding something, your fingernails, there's dirt all underneath your fingernails.
Yeah.
Like you are not afraid to get dirty. I love that. I got such a kick out of that when you did that. Like I said, it was just like 2 days later and all of a sudden funny. Good times. What else have you found lately?
Oh, well, let's see here. Today, for example, I have another one of those, the Elk Club. It's like the BPO, Benevolent Protective Order of Elks Club it's still active today. But I'm trying to electrolysis the pin. It's a pin from BPOE, and it has the elk on the front. They're notorious for having that. But that was today. It's just copper, so it's a copper pin, but it's really cool to see how it comes out.
Oh, cool. I wanted to tell you something. I was going to tell you off air, and with the kids and everything, life gets pretty busy, and you forget stuff. But I personally would recommend being careful with electrolysis. I seen
Yeah.
where you did an Indian. I I do not
Yeah.
use electrolysis on copper. Um, I I'll use the peroxide method where you just heat up some peroxide like in the microwave and dip it in, put it in and soak it, and it'll bubble like crazy. And using like the peroxide method on copper, I've never ruined anything. If how would you say like
No, that's a good point.
and you don't
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that method.
why
I don't
Peroxide?
think it works all that well. I
well
think the peroxide method to me doesn't seem to work that well. But electrolysis is great. But here's the thing: you're not gonna take any coin that has any potential serious value. I would hope not, and really do much of anything to it. I mean, I'd imagine if you're doing any, if electrolysis, peroxide method, or even so much as just putting it in the freezer with some drops of water on it, letting it freeze, and trying to get it to pull some of that stuff off of there. I mean, I don't know. I don't know too many people who are going to take a chance of ruining anything really good. To clean it up.
But like if you take it to copper, if you do electrolysis to copper, it'll strip it down to bare copper. And
Yeah.
it's just,
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. You're not gonna like bring the value back or anything, but I think when you strip that patina off, I think it loses something. Just my opinion. I'm not judging you.
No, I would agree with that too, Mike.
Yeah, and the peroxide
Trust me,
method.
yeah.
Go ahead.
This thing is, no, this pin, the BTOE pin from today, it's hosed. Like, it's going to look really pretty after electrolysis, but trust me, in this case, electrolysis is the right thing to do because it's like you can't even see the details. Because, this is from a dump, so it's just all kind of burned up and stuff, and it has stuff kind of melted on it. So, yeah.
It's kind of, so you're in a situation where you feel like it is the best way to do some of your stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I seen that
Yeah.
you did, and I'm like, oh my God, it's stripped down to the bare copper. But so you don't think what you're saying is you don't think there was any way it was too far gone to really do anything else to save it.
Yeah, no, the stuff I've been getting, that Indian head penny, the stuff I've been getting out of, and that one, it's been in a dump site, and so back when it was a dump, they burned everything, and so you have like that layer of burnt metal attached to it that's just from other items, but also the green, the verdigris, I think it's called, and it's just like, it's almost like flakes off, almost like coins you would find on a beach. So, I mean, the value of it is just, it's not like you're really going to be able to have
not value. But yeah, so what you're saying is even stripped down to bare copper is better than what you can do. I get what you're saying. Okay, I get that. I'm sorry, I wasn't judging.
Oh no! It's just it had just a really thick green layer of verdigris all the way around it, and it chipped off, and so that's how a lot of copper stuff is, at least from the site I've been going to. So it's like you can't see the detail. I don't know, but and then again too, it was only 1908 Indian head, last year, and I just didn't. That's not really valuable, so I didn't have a problem doing that.
I gotcha. No, I understand that completely. I'll go ahead, Matt.
I'm curious. Yeah, I'm really curious as to what are your favorite types of sites to go hunt, whether you're looking for old houses or just are you looking for specific year stuff or war period stuff, or what all types of detecting do you like to get into?
Well, I just go where I know people have gone and walked a long time ago, and whether I've done a lot of park hunting. Most of my stuff comes out of parks, actually. I'm not that great about private property permissions. I could try harder with that. But I just haven't. And I tried to do water hunting this last summer, and that is really fun, but trying to recover items out of, there's like this, our Lake Washington here by Seattle, there's just this thick layer of like almost concrete rock stuff. It's really hard to get through to find the item. So I actually really have gotten a lot of my stuff out of parks, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, I've notoriously done really well in parks and like old schools and parks and stuff as well. I mean, along with houses and stuff like that too. But yeah, parks seem to offer quite a bit of variety. Do you ever find that you might find some random weird, like, sometimes the stuff I find I have no clue what it is, but like some random piece of copper or ornate piece of copper, metal, or brass or something like that, and then you'll be digging like another part nowhere close to that, and you'll find the same, like I tend to find a lot of the same types of, same exact things, and there's a few things I've collected them from a few spots, and I've still yet to ever figure out what they were actually from, but obviously they were popular enough for people to drop them at some point, but does that happen to you?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I found part of a sterling ring, and I found the exact part. The ring was broken by a lawnmower that was lost in a park. So I found the part of the ring that said 925 on it, and then my friend actually found another part of the ring, but the design matched perfectly, and it was really funny. So, and it was on different days, too. And that happens, and I don't know all the reasons for that unless the lawnmower is moving stuff around, or I don't know, but it's funny when I definitely have had that happen before.
Now with you running the XP, I prefer to call it Deus. It's Deus, I guess. I don't know. If you hear me call it Deus, that's just kind of how I say it. But the Deus. Do you get into? Did you find a lot of deeper items and stuff in some of the parks, or is it you come with across like a mid-range of stuff? I was just kind of curious because I know that machine's definitely capable of pulling some deep objects.
Really both. Yes, there's definitely been items that have been buried pretty far down, like a foot, and then there's stuff that's been more shallow. So I definitely have done well with the Deus, finding items that are buried pretty far down. And that'll happen in parks totally. It just depends on the site. A lot of it's about the site.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I was curious. A lot of people talk about the depth with the Deus, and I'm always curious. Like I said, that's one machine that I don't have that I don't know, maybe next year. Well, maybe even this year yet. Maybe I'll buy one, and I won't buy one this year. Maybe next year I'll pick one up and play around with it, see if I like it or not. But I don't know. It's interesting why some stuff seems to really get down quite a ways, and then some of the oldest stuff I've ever found, with exception to just recently, is usually relatively shallow, and then I come across some real deep stuff sometimes, and it's not near as old as some of the deeper coins. And I don't know, at least in my area, I see a lot of coins seem to work their way up and down in the ground quite a bit. There's a few spots that I hunt, specifically my father-in-law's property, where if I go out there, hunt that thing solid every direction known to man, pull a few Civil War tokens out, and then wait about 3 months after we get some rain and some change in temperature, give about 3-4 months, go back out there over that same spot, and more stuff has worked its way up higher into a detectable range, which is really interesting. But I was just, it's, and I don't have one of those machines, so I have nothing, I guess, to compare it to other than what I've heard, read, and seen video on. So yeah, it's always something that I might have to break down and buy one just to play around with it at some point.
Hey, I want to kind of pause for a second or get off subject. That's something I've been wanting to talk to you about on air. Matt, but Elizabeth, have you ever found a Civil War store card token?
No, no,
Okay,
I would love to.
I've been hunting over 20 years and I have found two. Matt, how long you been at it? 7, 8 years?
Yeah, yeah.
And what do you have? Somewhere over 40 of them?
Oh, I've got a whole, Mike, I probably have, I don't know, I got a whole pile of them. I just found one in another park last week, actually. Now,
His
unfortunately, out of all the ones I've found, it's in bad condition, but I can make out enough detail on it to know what it is.
the area he lives in Northeast Ohio, and there's something I would love to know the story of why so many were circulated or lost or what, because I'm from
Mhm.
Ohio and I've hunted in Southeast Ohio. I've hunted in western part, kind of central, and I've got two. And it's something else that reminds me of Matt is I know up in Northwest Ohio a couple different guys who find crotal bells left and right. And don't get me wrong, I've found lots of pieces, and I do have a
Mhm.
couple. But I know, and I find that so weird. Like Matt's in an area, and I mean, he seems to dig so many of these store card tokens. And up in the other part of Ohio, people just find crotal bells left and right. What's that about? I would love to know,
That's
especially.
amazing.
And Mike,
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think that for whatever reason, specifically in the area I'm in, they just must have used them very heavily. I mean, they just must have been very widespread because, I find enough of them. My father-in-law's property, I found a ton of them out there, but I found enough of them. I found them at three different parks or four different parks and at a lot of different house sites. So, you know, and the thing is, once I get outside, if I get half hour, 45 minutes outside of this area, I've never found one any further than the immediate area I'm in. So they just, and what's cool is the ones that say Massillon, Ohio, which is the city I live in. And I love when I find those ones. That gets me all excited. But yeah, I don't know. There just seems to be, I don't know. Maybe it's just dumb luck. I don't know that I find them. I have no
No,
idea, but I'd have to believe that that they just used a lot of them back in the day in this area specifically because like I said I've never found them anywhere else but in the immediate area roughly that I'm been hunting around my house within half hour 45 minutes of my house. But so I don't know. Yeah, it's very interesting because like I find them anymore, it's like that Civil War token, got a bunch of them, whoop-de-doo. I don't know, it's just kind of weird.
That's so
It's just really
amazing.
strange.
Yeah. That's so interesting. Yeah, that's really fascinating that those were all. I have yet to. I finally got my first 3-ringer bullet that came out of the site I've been going to a lot, and I don't know what it was doing there, because the site doesn't date back that far. But it was my very first one, and it was just a couple inches down. I have no idea. But yeah, finding stuff that old over here is happens on the rare occasion. So, because it's not generally that old around here. Mhm.
Yeah, but you do really good. I mean, for that area, that's what I mean. It's just amazing to me some of the stuff you find, and I'm sure like you're right. There's some other people who do that as well who aren't real big on social
Mhm.
media and stuff, or not on social media altogether. But I mean, still, all the people on social media, like I would think that I would see some of that, and rarely do I see stuff posted like you do from that area.
Mhm. Well, thanks. It's yeah. I mean, I think if you're going to try to detect at places that were used as dumps a long time ago, it's very difficult because so much is mixed in with these gigantic iron nails or the lids to mason jars, and so a lot of the signals are occluded. You can't hear. So it's like you kind of dig a hole and detect the dirt as it comes out, and stuff just kind of starts showing up, and it's stuff you can't really hear otherwise. And so that's kind of what I've been doing. The one item I found recently, I believe this was, was this last weekend? Last weekend I found 3 sterling items. That was really, really fun. But it's a little kind of container for, I think, lipstick or lip gloss, and you open it up and it has a little tiny place. It's too small for a coin, but on the front is engraved Will. That's what it says, Will, and in the back is Mark Sterling. That one was actually inside a jar, and I heard it from inside the jar, but I dumped the jar out and it fell out, and that was pretty cool. But that was unusual to hear it. Usually stuff is mixed in with nails, and it's really hard to hear, and you start digging the hole, and then, oh, wow, or the pinpoint, or just find stuff. And that's one thing about dumps. It can be really difficult unless you are just really patient with the dirt.
Right. Now, how did you get into that?
Mm-hmm. How did I get into that?
How'd you get into digging dumps so much? Because it seems like a lot of what you do is in dumps.
So it kind of started out 3 years ago. I would go a lot to try to dig bottles, because I also love bottles and glass, right. Old glass, and then I kind of detected off and on, but was frustrated because it's like it's so hard to hear targets. And then one day, let's see, when did I kind of start doing this again? One day recently, it was earlier in like the spring, I decided to take 2 of my friends I was like, oh, let's go bottle digging. And they said, okay. And they were really interested in that. But in the process of that, it's like stuff just started showing up. And then it occurred to me, it's like, okay, well, and, stuff other than bottles started showing up. It occurred to me that I can detect the dirt, and probably after I dig the hole, I can detect the dirt and hear a lot more. And since then, that's kind of been what I'm doing. But it's crazy. A lot of the stuff has been right on the surface, but a lot of stuff is buried pretty far down. So I just originally, it started out with bottles, and okay. I mean, oh my God, this one time, I don't even know. I was digging a hole there, and this little tiny. I think I did hear it with my detector. It was kind of the thing where I heard my detector. I heard several different targets at once. I just got the pinpointer out, but this little tiny, almost the size of a pencil eraser, gold pin pops out. It says 14K stamped on the back, and that would have been impossible to hear if the hole was, if the dirt didn't come out of the hole.
That's pretty cool.
So it's amazing. It's trash, what people can consider trash, But I guess if you're done with it, you don't need it anymore. You throw it out. It goes in the dump.
Right. Well, I'm sure some of it ended up there accidentally. I'm sure of it. But
Yeah, sure. Totally, right?
Oh, I am tired, guys. I am beat. I had a rough night with little Randy. My little boy's been sick, and I'm kind of beat. If you hear, I told him in chat. I said, if you hear me snoring, somebody give me a call. Wake me up. And then I said,
Mike,
I don't
wake up.
I did put. I don't mean that disrespectful towards Elizabeth. I'm just beat. That boy beat me up last night. He's
While you're talking about bottles, I want to throw out there a quick story that. So out of my father-in-law's property, now he's lived there, I don't know, let's see, my wife's 35, so he's lived there, I don't know, 36, almost 40 years maybe. And there's a section where it used to be basically of his property, it used to be the dump site, and they dumped a ton of bottles there back in the day. And literally, it's so crazy because every year, he'll send me new pictures, or if I go out there, every year more stuff works its way up out of the ground, out of this spot. And for the past, 35, 36 years now, he's been pulling super cool, full unbroken bottles out that keep working their way up out of the ground. And I think it was a year or two ago, a whiskey bottle finally made its way up out of the ground that still had the cork in it and still had whiskey in it. And it was dated I don't know, 1870s or something like that. And, But he's got a really cool Yingling bottle that came up the other year, and just all kinds of little medicine bottles. And I mean, it's just amazing how the hydraulics with the water in the ground work in that area. And it just every year more stuff just keeps coming up and coming up. And I went over it one time with my detector, and it's just unfortunately it's a legit dump site, and there's just no way shy of digging into the ground that it's even remotely detectable. But I get excited to see what he's got every year.
Why don't you dig it up, man? Dig it up and sift and
my
sift
father.
the
No, I would love to do that, but he loves going out there and every year and finding new stuff throughout the year that keeps working himself up. And I mean, I would love to take a backhoe out there, dig that whole section up, because there's got to be one hell of amount of bottles down there. If he's been pulling them out for 30 plus years now, and every year it seems like more of the older stuff, like older and older stuff, keeps coming up, and he's getting to some real cool stuff has come out lately. I'll tell you that.
That is cool.
I would love to dig that whole section up and excavate that whole area and go through there and retrieve like some really cool bottles. But that's all right. I know he really enjoys when they come up out of the ground, and I like seeing the pictures and stuff. And then when I go over to his garage and look in the garage, he's got them all the stuff in there that come out recently, and then he's got them all in like cabinets and stuff. And it's just really cool. It's amazing how that stuff can sit in the ground that long and not get destroyed, and then just magically work its way up to the surface.
But he's not detecting it, is it? He's not detecting the dump, right? Because he's missing missing little metal stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure he is.
I did go over it with my detector before, and it's there's just so much. There's so much metal. I mean, I don't know of a single machine that could even begin to weed through some of the iron it's so heavily, and there's a lot of jar lids and stuff in there too. And
listen,
I mean,
this is what we need to
listening.
do. Next time he goes on vacation, let's go dig the crap out of that place. Let's dig it. Let's leave it sterile.
I mean,
I'd
be all for that, but I'll be the number one prime suspect.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we don't care about you getting in trouble.
Well, you'd get in so much trouble because it's like I totally agree, Matt. You're not going to be able to hear anything unless you dig a hole and detect the dirt. That's the only way. But I guarantee you, if he's not doing that, he's missing stuff. He's missing stuff. There's other stuff in there.
I guarantee that. With the amount of stuff that's there has to be there's got to be some really cool stuff down in there. And, like I said, I've never really asked him to let me dig it up so much as that, like I said, because I understand that he really enjoys going out there and when new stuff comes up every year. And but I should go over and take some pictures of some of the bottles and stuff that have come up out of the ground over the years, and because he's got a whole collection of really cool stuff. And that whiskey bottle was just and part of the label was still on that whiskey bottle. I mean, somehow managed to stay in the ground for that long, come up, still have whiskey and part of the label on the bottle. I mean, that's amazing.
That is amazing. What color was it? I'm sorry. If you already said, what color was the bottle? The whiskey bottle?
The bottle was I don't remember now. It was a darker, it had to have been a brownish. No, it wasn't brown. It was I think it was a brownish bottle. But I'd have to. I'll get some pictures as I probably head out there this weekend anyhow, because I need to go stop out there this weekend and drain some gas out of my go-karts that are out in his one garage. So when I go out there, I'll get some pictures of some of the bottles and
Elizabeth,
I'll post them on the.
Listen to me now. We will never see those pictures. We will
never
see. Matt is a fart in the skillet. He's all over the place.
No, listen.
Hey, hold on. Have you looked at the video yet of the balloon that everybody's been going crazy about wanting to know? Matt?
No,
but I just. But listen, I just found that camera after like
You
months of
found
searching
that
for it. I
camera
just
like 2 weeks
located it.
ago. You found it like 2
No,
weeks
that
ago.
was no, that was this week when I called. No, that was last weekend when I called you. It was last weekend. It was on Saturday when I finally tracked it down and I called you.
Oh, Lord. He's a fart in a skillet. That's what he is, Elizabeth. He's all over the place, I'm telling you. So let me tell you this story. I had an experience. I'm not going to, I've talked about it 20 million times I'm not going to go back through it all. If you haven't heard it, I'll tell you sometime if you're interested. But I had an experience out at this park. It's a newer park and it's out in the country, and in the back there's an old foundation, and I had something creepy happen. Well, I hadn't told Matt, and just a couple weeks before we did this podcast and brought it up, this episode talking about it, he was in the area and he went and detected it. So I'm telling, so on the air, I'm telling this story, and he said, Mike, I had a creepy experience at that park that you told me about. And I said, which park? And he told me, I'm like, that's the same park. Well, he was detecting and nobody was there. Nobody. And out of nowhere, a balloon just floated up to him. And
that's super weird.
It was really weird.
And
I can only say, and I'll tell you, Mike, what's even crazier is that the camera that I had set up on a tripod,
yeah,
that the video that should have been recording, it didn't record anything. So that camera I found a while ago, that video didn't have nothing on it.
Yeah.
It just didn't exist till after the balloon was gone. Now, the other one I know was recording. I finally located the camera. I lose a lot of stuff in my house. I have a lot of things that I misplaced. But I finally located the camera, and I'll be honest, I'm half, like, I want to look at it, but I'm almost afraid to watch the video. I'll be clearly honest with you, because if I see something that's really jacked up in that video, it's gonna ruin my mood. It's gonna, I'm gonna be like paranoid for months again. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
I don't know. That balloon came out of nowhere. The balloon was following me, and when I acknowledged the balloon, it finally decided it was gonna go straight up in the air and magically just blow with the wind, because the wind was blowing. So, I don't know. It was very strange. It was super early in the morning. There wasn't a soul in sight, and that's all I can say. But I will promise you, I will watch the video by this weekend. I will post the video, and like I said, I haven't seen it. I still don't know what's on it. I just remember what happened when I was there, and I went back. I told my brother and my dad, because we were down at my brother's house, and I said, man, the craziest thing happened out at this park. And I was telling them, and they're like, yeah, that's kind of weird. And then Mike got talking about his story, and I'm like, you didn't tell me that was the same place, man. I would have been like, wow. I don't know. I don't know. I don't need to get myself all worked up for nothing, but I'm telling you, I'm not going to be happy if there is something crazy in that video.
Well, just send me the video. Just send me the video.
I'll just send you. Yeah, that's a better idea yet.
Elizabeth, I cannot tell you how many times him and I have been on the phone, and here's a real good one. I'm on the phone with him, and he's looking for his CTX 3030, Mine Lab, the real expensive one. And he is getting stressed out. He's looked in both of his cars. He's looked in his garage. He's looked in his house, and it's gone. Somebody stole it out of his car or his garage. He can't figure it. And I'm like, man, I got to go, but you got to let me know where it's at. And he finally texted me later. He was like, oh, it was hanging up where it's supposed to. That's like he loses track of everything, even when it's where it's supposed to be. I've been on the phone with him. I've been on the phone with him, and he's looking for a tool. Let's say he's looking for a ratchet, and he's walking around looking for a ratchet, and he's like, yeah, let me grab that ratchet. Oh, hey, here's the screwdriver I've been looking for. Let me go put this up. Oh, hey, look, here's this shiny piece of metal. And 10 minutes later, he's doing something completely different. He's completely forgot about it. I'm like, hey, did you ever find that ratchet? Oh, no, I forgot I was looking for that ratchet. That's Matt. That is Matt right there. Yep.
That sums me up, and yeah, that's exactly correct.
Oh, he cracks me. I
tell you, I will say, when I'm out detecting, I seem to somehow stay like super focused, and I don't like when I'm actually out at a place, digging coins or digging whatever. Like I'm like so focused, but the second I quit detecting, man, I'm all over the place.
It sounds a little like
I'm telling you.
a little ADHD, kind of some ADHD.
Oh yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing, but yeah. That's okay.
A therapist one time told me I needed to. She said, "Have you ever been tested for ADHD?" And I said, "Tested? Oh, I'm sure I got that. I don't need to be tested. My boss tells me I have that every day." So.
Hey, Matt. She works in psychology. Don't tell her too much. Just I wouldn't go there.
Oh boy.
Right. Yeah.
You want to pick a tough brain? I got one.
Well, we've got one part figured out with the ADHD.
Yeah. Well, there's much more going on. Trust me, much more.
I try not to give advice unless it's clear that people want advice about that. So I probably will stay out of it.
Probably. She said probably.
And it's funny because I figured, you know what? I've got this far with how I am now. I'm doing all right, so I'll just continue on my path of craziness, I guess.
Tell the story about your dad and what he collects. I love this. I think this tells so much.
Yeah, this is Mike's favorite story ever. So, growing up, my dad, well, still to this day, if you want to have a conversation with my dad, if it involves a washer or a dryer, he will talk for hours. I mean, this guy loves him some washers and dryers. And, like some people like race cars and hot rods, and he's all about washers and dryers. He had his first washer when he was 3 years old. All right? And still to this day, he's 67, 68 now, somewhere in there. I mean, he knows every single thing about every washer and dryer. He literally has probably 15 washers and 15 dryers, maybe more than that's probably an understatement, hooked up and operational in his basement. And he likes the older ones too. So, he fixes all this stuff and repairs everything. And, oh man, he's out of control. I thought I was bad.
The funniest part to me, and look, I'm not judging. I think it's cool and strange, but cool. Matt said he will sometimes go down and just do loads of laundry to watch it, not because he need washed.
Yeah,
but
if he doesn't have clothes that need washed, he'll wash stuff that's already clean.
Yeah,
and,
I think that's awesome.
Used to come home back in the day, and I was a teenager and whatnot, and come home and it'd be real late at night, and come in through the garage, and he'd be in there on the computer, and you'd be like, "What you watching?" And here he's watching videos of the agitator spin around on a washing machine.
Wow.
I want to meet him.
I'm telling you.
I'm not making fun. I think it's really cool though. But I mean, that's just, I find it strange, but very cool. I mean, hey, each their own, I mean, but I mean,
you want to hear a good one, Mike? Listen to this. So my dryer, I have multiple washers and dryers because I don't like when my wife clogs up the washer or dryer with her stuff and doesn't finish it. So anyhow, I called him and I said, "Hey man, my one dryer ain't been working for like a month, so I just haven't had time to even look at it or bother with it." And so he finally comes over. He gets over here, pulls off the thing, gets it. He's like, "Oh, yep, I see that." He's like, based on the sounds, he's like, I bet the belt's probably broken. He gets the front off, and he's like, "Yep, belt's broken." He goes, "You know what? I just happen to have that exact belt you need for this dryer." And I said, "Why do you have that with you?" He's like, "Well, I was just somewhere, and I got it off another dryer, and I thought, well, I might need this someday." And literally, he walked out to his car, grabbed the belt, put it on, and back up and around. I'm like, it's just the most amazing thing ever.
Right.
And the thing is, he just knows everything about him. And it's funny because the way I feel about metal detecting and how much I love metal detecting, that's him with washers and dryers.
And that's okay.
It's crazy.
Here's what I'm imagining right now. So Elizabeth is like, okay, we're going to talk metal detecting tonight, and then you and I start talking. We're talking about everything else, and I bet you money she just sit back in her chair, put on her glasses, and pulled out her notebook. She's taking notes on our craziness right now. I about bet you.
No.
I about bet you.
No.
Yeah. I'm not judging. I have an issue. I have a problem collecting metal detectors and stuff, and that's okay. I mean, I've never ever heard anybody with such a fascination for washers and dryers that I hate laundry, and to think about rewashing stuff just so you can hear it and watch it, just is mind-boggling to me, But
that's hilarious. Yeah.
Matt's definitely got some of that. He can't let go of detectors.
You want to hear, Mike? I want to give you one better than that I haven't told you. He's went to I think it was out in Omaha, Nebraska, or Lincoln, Nebraska, or something before. They had a washing machine convention where people like himself who are just fascinated with washers and dryers. All these guys get together and bring pictures of washers and dryers, and even have a bunch on site and talk about different washers and dryers, and it was called a wash-in convention. Okay, I'm not kidding you. And
wow.
So that's blows my mind. But hey, to each his own, man. I guess hey, anything that you love doing, go for it, I guess. But yeah, it's super funny,
I find it funny, but cool. I mean, I'm not making fun of him. I'd love to meet him. I mean, I think that's so just odd and unique, I mean, he probably sits around with his friends and talks about it. My silly son, he's on a metal detecting podcast. They sit around and talk about metal detectors. Can you believe that?
He's probably like, this guy goes out there and he'll go out and find hardly anything sometime and waste his whole day metal detecting. He thinks metal detecting is cool. Now, granted, I don't see him the type of person to ever go out and metal detect. He might dig one hole and be like, all right, I've had enough. I'm gonna go watch a washing machine spin around.
Right. That's funny.
Has he ever gotten washing machines where they were the ones used at a public laundromat and had silver coins?
No, he hasn't, but that would be sweet. Now, well, he's had stuff like he's worked on a lot of stuff for people over the years that, especially commercial stuff that was in a laundromat, but he never he's never told me he's ever found any silver coins down in anybody's washer way back in the day or anything. But I mean, he has found some interesting things that get stuck in people's washers that coin and change wise that it's quite amazing how stuff can run with that all jammed down in there. But he's never found any silver.
What's the craziest thing he's found?
Well, not so much in wash. The craziest thing he found is probably he had this. I don't even know what it was. It wasn't silver, but it was it was some. I don't know, some coin. I don't even remember what kind of coin it was, but it was it must have been in this washer since the day it was invented. I mean, the thing had to have been it was. I don't think it was even out of a ringer washer. It was out of a normal washer. So obviously couldn't have been that old, but just some crazy coins and interesting stuff like that. But not you talk about dryers. He's found a mouse in someone's dryer one time, and he told the lady that he said if that thing would have been alive, he said I would have ran out of the house screaming and I wouldn't have come back. But he's pulled possum and raccoons and stuff like that that get stuck in people's dryers because they come in through the vents, and snakes and all kinds of random stuff like that. But
snakes.
I tell you, it's in fact, one time there was a possum that made it into our dryer through the vent while we were on vacation. It got stuck in there and died. he paid me like 20 or 30 bucks to take it out of that thing and haul it up to the woods. And I'm like, I'm your man. I'm on it, buddy. 30 bucks. I'm in. Yeah.
That's funny.
I don't know. It's interesting, but yeah, that would be cool if you came across some really. Can you imagine back in the day, like at a laundromat, like you know, all the silver coins being pumped into some of that stuff? I mean, well, that would be crazy.
I'm surprised he's never found. We are way off the subject here, but I'm surprised.
Hey, you took it here.
Hey, why we're way off the subject? Well, I mean, I guess it's a little bit closer to the subject. So, your fiance, it seems like you're getting him into some metal detecting. Am I wrong?
Oh.
Am I right?
Well, he definitely will go at times. I don't know if he, as of yet, that he hasn't really been bitten by the metal detecting bug. So, but he's very nice, and he goes with me, and so we'll see. We'll see if over time he gets more of a pull towards it.
Has he ever found anything super cool?
No, he hasn't really. He gets kind of, when, you know, there's just certain techniques, I think. And plus, he's starting out with a dais. I mean, I don't know that I've been that fair. I kind of took him to some more difficult sites, but it's because I knew there was stuff there. And he's also trying to start out with a dais after not using a detector before. So that can be a little bit. So no, not really.
Yeah.
He found an earring one time.
I mean, I just would think that, yeah, as soon as he finds something amazing, he's going to be like, oh yeah, this is it. I find it hard to believe that once you find something that's just super cool or interesting, that you could just walk away from it. But maybe that's just me. But I don't know. I wouldn't be able to.
At least he supports you.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
that's what's important, is that he supports you, you know, and
Oh,
supports
yeah,
your hobby
totally.
and stuff. And that's awesome. Does he
Right.
have any hobbies?
He likes video games. He likes, he's actually very good at origami too, and he likes building stuff.
Now, do
So
you
yeah,
get
he does.
Do you get into any of his hobbies?
I have been trying to do video game stuff. I get too distracted by metal detecting in my free time. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, Mike, someone needs to make a video game for like the PS4 or Xbox, and I'm sure it wouldn't sell well, so it'd probably have to have a really huge price tag. But if they just made a really awesome metal detecting game where you could go through like actual different detectors and, you know, all kinds of different water properties and house properties, and I would invest stock in that. I would buy whatever. I'd buy 1 million copies if that's what it took to get someone to produce that.
That would be so fun if that was in existence.
I like the being outside though. It's not the same. I mean, I guess maybe in the winter time.
Yeah, but when you're in the winter time and you can't get out because the ground's frozen 6 inches, 8 inches solid, and there's just no way a blowtorch, I've tried it, is even going to cut it. Yeah, I really thought that was going to work one time. It was the biggest disappointment ever. But especially when I knew there was silver that I was going over with the E-Trek and I couldn't get it. But
you can visit Seattle in the winter. Where our winter is just rainy. You can visit over
well, see, that's perfect. See, but for all us people who get stuck with all the snow and ice and you can't get out, man, I would love to have. Oh, my wife would probably really throw me out of the house if someone made a game like that. That would, not that I play video games, but if there was a nice metal detecting game, I'm in. I'm in all winter.
I've never got into video games. Never been my thing. I mean, I know it's big, but I mean, I'd much rather be outside doing stuff. You know, I mean, I'd rather be doing about anything outside than playing games. I'm not judging, you know, it's just never been my thing. I'm too old. I kind of missed that, you know, well, no, that's not true. I never got into video games. I mean, I remember my mom buying us an Atari and it was like, ooh, this is cool for a minute, you know, but we lived out in the country. It's like, hey, you want to go walk down that creek? You know, let's go back to doing that. That's way funner, you know? I don't know. Just my personal.
Well,
yeah.
it's, you know, it's like all week for work, I sit on my butt and listen to people. And so I kind of want to go afterwards, go do something more physical activity. But like Jeremiah, for example, he's an electrician, so he's doing physical stuff all week, and so he doesn't feel like that.
Oh yeah,
so
that
much
makes sense.
at the end of the week.
He just wants to
he just kind of wants
relax.
to sit and do nothing. Yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah.
I thought he goes with you some though, at least, right?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. Yeah. Mhm.
I gotcha.
Yeah,
very
he's very,
cool.
Yeah,
very helpful.
I wish I could get my wife to go out at least once with me metal detecting, but and I'll come home with like there's days when I've come home with like a couple rings, some awesome silver rings, a pile of nice old silver, and all kinds of Indians and stuff like. And she's like, "Meh, oh wow, cool." And I'm like, "No, look at it." She's like, "I don't want to touch any of that stuff." I'm like, "Seriously? Wow!" Like, I don't know. I can't get my wife to even. Well, she won't even hold a detector, let alone take it out and actually go with me. That'd be. Yeah, that's just never going to happen. So that's
for,
all right.
For her, I mean, it's just as bad as you sitting in front of a washer, washing clean clothes.
Well, yeah,
I'm guessing.
You know, if she'd probably be more happy if I was sitting at home playing video games than out detecting. Like she just doesn't. She doesn't get it, and you know, it's one of those. She doesn't have any hobby like that or anything that she loves like so much that. Like my dad with washers or myself with metal detecting, that she doesn't have anything like that. But I you know, one of these days I might be able to bring her around. At least I'd like her to go out with at least once with me and say, you know, hey, that was kind of fun, or yeah, never again. You know, but you know, the fact that she won't even go try, you know, it's kind of blows my mind because you know you might find something that you really enjoyed that you didn't think you would, but. Well, I guess we may never know. I'm not sure yet.
Well, but you got to look at it at a different. I mean, have you ever had the desire to sit around with your dad and wash some clean clothes? You know, I mean, like that wouldn't do it for me.
No,
You're not going to convince me.
I guess you're right. Yeah, absolutely not. No, no way.
You're not
going to convince me. I used to pay him
to
do my laundry. I paid him. He'd come over every week. He'd come over and do our laundry. But then I stopped paying him, and once I cut him out of the payroll, he was like, "Hey, either you give me the money or I'm not doing your laundry." I'm like, "Why? You used to come over and do it just for fun anyhow. I mean, what's the difference?" He's like, "Yeah, but I got other things to do." I'm like, "What? You know, you enjoy doing laundry. I figure, hey, come over here." But yeah, I used to have him on the laundry payroll. It was quite nice.
He's like, I got better things to do. I can go home and sit and watch my own laundry get washed. Oh man, that just cracks me up. We're all strange in our own ways. I say that all the time. We all have something, you know.
You know, I will say though that I really should spend some more time learning some of the stuff he knows about washers and dryers. You know, obviously he's getting older. He can't move them around as easily as he used to be able to. And, you know, I feel like I owe it to him to spend some more time, you know, helping him out. And I'll go help him out, move stuff here and there when, you know, if he's got if he's replacing something at someone's house and he needs some help. But, yeah, I should definitely learn some of the stuff. You know, I'm very mechanical, don't get me wrong, and I can build or fix just about anything. But, you know, I draw the line at washers and dryers because I've always relied on him because he loves working on them. So, you know, maybe I should get around to learning some things here in the future and not take for granted what I have.
I labeled this podcast episode as, you know, Elizabeth Mueller. That's our guest. But I feel like for our listeners, I'm going to have to go back and rename it like Matt's dad's washers or something. I don't know. We haven't talked too much about.
I'm going to tell him we were talking about him in the podcast, and he'll probably listen to it and get a good chuckle.
I would love to meet him. I think it's cool. It's just, you know, different. I've never known somebody that's so into washers and dryers, man. That's cool.
Yeah, and you know, it's one of those things too. He's a very nice person and very honest guy. He's one of those people that if they tell you something that about your washer, dryer, or appliance, take it as gospel because he's not lying. I mean, it's the truth, and it's just, most people would be. I don't know. It reminds me of George and Pam. That they love what they do, and they're very honest and very hardworking at what they do, and they want it to be the best. And he's the same way. If he tells me something or gives me a suggestion about an appliance, I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna go with it because he has no personal agenda otherwise for any other reason. So yeah, it's quite nice to have him around. I'll tell you that.
I know we're way off here, but something about this that I also find funny is, when you were telling me all this, I was getting a good chuckle, but how many washers and dryers do you have, and how many dishwashers do you have?
I have 2 kitchens in my house, so I only have 2. I have 2 dishwashers, and I used to have 4 washers and 4 dryers, but when I redid my basement, I had to downgrade to just 2 washers and 2 dryers, which really sucks. But in order to put the kitchen back in my basement, I had to make a deal with myself that I'd have to settle for 2 washers and 2 dryers, and it's tough. I'm not gonna lie, it sucks. 3 would be ideal, 4 is even better, but I just unfortunately don't have enough space when I redid the basement to accommodate that with all my son's Nerf guns and everything else. I had to eliminate some washers and dryers, but I still got 2 washers and 2 dryers, so I can't complain.
His son has like a wall, and it's like how many guns does he have?
Well, we probably got on the neighborhood of 130 or so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Matt'll need a tool. We're not even on metal detecting anymore.
Well, we're in the right subject because she probably hears this kind of stuff all the time and is like,
she's probably
this guy's got problems.
Yep, they got issues for sure. So Matt will need a tool. Let's say he needs a circular saw. He'll go out and he'll end up buying 4 or 6 circular saws because even though he only needs it for like one little job, this one has this feature, but it doesn't have that feature. But this other one has that feature. Oh, but look at this one. This one has this feature. So he ends up with like 6 saws instead of just buying one. That's Matt.
Yeah, see, but that logic makes sense to me because if you're
right,
yeah, absolutely, 100%. Because if you have any doubt in your mind about something you're buying, even after you've done all your research, I'd like to have everything that I need, or possibly if I buy a tool and I say, it didn't work the way I wanted, then I got to maybe go look for something else. But if I just have everything, I can pick and choose what I want, and then I can't be disappointed with what I've bought. So, and it works the same with metal detecting. If I have a pile of detectors, and for certain situations, maybe the Rudis is better in super heavy iron, or it's better for mid-range targets. But then maybe on field sites, the Impact is a better machine, or the Cruiser, or the 3030. I love the 3030, but there's certain places where that E-Track will kill it as well, or that whole logic just. My wife doesn't understand that logic, and she probably never will. But somewhere in my brain, that makes perfect, absolute sense to me.
You know what? I will somewhat agree with you there. I guess, yeah. I think there's a difference though, because like you will buy a saw for one job. Okay, this summer you cleaned out your garage. You couldn't take it anymore. You gave a ton of stuff away, and then you were constantly looking for stuff. You're like, oh crap, I gave that away. Oh man, I gave that away. And you had like 2 dust collector systems, and you had like 22 saws and this and that. I'm like, well, keep one of the saws. You're like, nah, I don't even need. I just need the space in my garage. But you know what? Let's get back on the subject because you brought up a good point. About metal detectors and being versatile, and one does something better. I totally agree with that logic. And there is something to be said about learning one metal detector and being really good with it. But I also think there's no perfect detector, especially for every situation. But just like, I love to relic hunt in fields in Ohio where houses once were that are long gone. Well, even for that, having different technology to run over that area is a huge advantage. You take something, a multiple frequency machine, and you go through and you run it at, let's take the multi-cruiser, you run it at 19 kilohertz. Then you go back to 14, you go to 14, and it's going to make a difference. But then you take an AT Pro, and you're going to even, it's not even that one detector's better than the other. It's sometimes different technology, but then you take water hunting, you throw that in the mix, and you take deep silver at a park. There's no detector out there that just does it all and does it all really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and see, I agree 100%. And okay, so yeah, there is a big difference, I will say, between me buying like 5 saws or something like that because, well, I just don't want to make the final decision on one of them. And with detectors, at least I can justify like detectors and fishing poles and stuff like that. There's justifiable reasons. And I don't know. I am a believer in that. If you have one machine, learn it. The better you know your machine, obviously, the better the easier you're going to find stuff that a lot of other people may miss. But there are situations you get into where maybe that machine's not the best machine for heavy iron, or maybe it's not great on a saltwater beach. Take the AT Pro, phenomenal machine, but it wasn't great coming in and out of saltwater. It'd be very hard to use. So, having other tools at your disposal to rely on and count on, I think can go a long way. And it depends too what all you're hunting, where you're hunting, and what type of environments you get into. And for me, I travel a lot at work, so I might be in Pennsylvania, Virginia, Maryland, New York, so there's a lot of different areas and different situations I could find myself in. And if I have some extra time, and I have a permission out there somewhere, I want to have the right tool for the job every time, instead of saying, man, I wonder, or I don't know, but I wonder if I could have found more with a different detector or under, so for me, I'd rather just have it and then not leave things to chance or to wondering, because that would drive me. That's just as bad as, having an awesome spot to go metal detecting and not having time or getting a chance to go, because, that wondering is always going on inside your head, and then that'll eat me alive over time.
Hey, while we're talking about this, Elizabeth, have you ever thought about what we're talking about and expanding, or do you feel like the Deus does everything you need it to do?
I have thought about expanding. I do know my friend, she has an Equinox 800 and definitely has heard stuff that her boyfriend, who has an AT Pro, and then with a Deus that I haven't heard, we haven't heard it. So she's found a lot on the beaches down here when he and I could not hear anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've definitely thought about that.
I was just talking to... I was just... Tom Dunn is in chat right now, or he was, and we just had that talk earlier. He's heard that the Equinox is just really, really killing it on the beaches and saltwater and stuff. And Davey M wants to know, Matt, what detector do you use on the beach?
I would say my favorite detector on the beach is the 3030, and I can honestly say that even if you put the big coil, now coming in and out of the water with the big coil, you better have the Pro Swing harness on, because otherwise your shoulder's going to fall off. But that machine will not make a sound in and out of the salt water until you come over a coin or some piece of metal of any type, obviously. But I've Well, with the E-Track, I dug some pretty deep gold rings off the beach before. I've not had a chance to use it extensively on the beach ever since I've had the 3030. But when I did do some testing out at Virginia Beach with that, it just blew my mind how dead silent that machine ran until you came over a solid target. And but I think that's a great beach hunting machine. You could go to a pulse machine. Yeah, you're going to pick up more depth, obviously, but you're going to dig a lot more bottle caps and pop tabs. No, pop tabs, you're going to dig them anyhow. I mean, you almost have to in most cases. But one thing I saw that on that machine versus some of the other guys running pulse machines was that I could tell when it's a bottle cap. There was no question in my mind. And these guys would have whole collections of bottle caps. And now they find a lot of good stuff too. And definitely the potential to hit deeper gold targets, I would say probably definitely exists with a pulse machine. But for as stable as that 3030 runs at full sensitivity with a huge coil on, unbelievable. I mean, you can just cover huge amounts of ground and really cherry pick through areas that have some nice cuts and stuff on the beach. So, that now, granted, I've never had any pulse machines or anything like that, and I've never run a Deus on the beach, but I will say that the 3030 really impressed me with how well that runs with that saltwater setting. It was quite impressive.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, and I definitely thought about that because there are some beaches where I don't know what the heck's going on. It has to be the saltwater. I can't. All I hear are crazy false signals all the time. And on the Deus, there's all these programs that you can select. There's multiple ones, and all of them, it's really bad. It's like obviously the Deus is just not going to work on this particular piece of beach, but yeah, the Deus will work on the beach. I have to go in ground mode. I have to go in one of the lower frequencies, but you definitely can hear stuff, but it definitely is not the best one for the beach.
And see, like that, that being said, Mike, like where the E-Track, I think, is definitely super hot on, in my mind, there's no question. It was super hot on silver targets, but it seemed to work really good for gold targets, and same with the 3030. But I found that the 3030 on the beach, man, does it love some copper. You can pull copper like a mile away with the 3030 on the beach, but gold targets were good. I mean, I didn't see, any ridiculous depths. Now, granted, I had to plant some stuff out there to test some of the targets I was testing with the 3030 for gold targets because I just didn't come across any myself the last time I was out, but yeah, and the Deus, I mean, that machine has got a lot of adjustable programs from what I understand. And there's one thing I think is really cool about that is that you can set it, if you know what you're doing and you know how to use it, you can really set it for a lot of different situations. And, do I think it's any better than the 3030? Would I say they're pretty much equals? I'd say basically, yeah, they're probably equal in a lot of respects, but like I said, I happen to really love the MindLab 3030 and CTX 3030. But weight is obviously a big thing for a lot of people. So definitely hands down, the Deus wins all day long when if weight's a consideration for people. So yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things that it's everybody's personal preference. And like I said, don't just take my word for how the 3030 works on the beach. See what other people say, but I think I was truly amazed at how it ran.
Mm-hmm.
I think what's probably horrible though is the weight. I've heard some really great things, and I've heard guys down in Florida love it, or like I guess any of the beaches on the coast, because they also love that GPS function. They can see where they've been and where they're at.
Oh yeah, that's just amazing.
But
And then you can take that and log. You can log. What's cool with that though, Mike, is you can log all the your trails and stuff like that. And then if you lived by the beach or you had access to go to the beach on a regular basis, you can log that over time, and then you can start seeing patterns develop with where the cuts and stuff come in and out of the beach and whatnot. So that would be really cool to be able to do that on a regular basis. And I guarantee you could get to the point where you could go to the beach and just kill it because you'll know right where all the stuff's going to start developing. And you could just destroy it out there.
I'll tell you what I'm excited to see is this Nocta macro amphibio. Now I've heard what I've heard is that the right now people are choosing they really like the Equinox over the multi-cruiser for saltwater. I had a guy the other day tell me that he inland he uses the multi-cruiser. That's his go-to, and then on the beaches it's the I get tired. I'm so sleepy. I can't even keep my stuff straight. The Equinox, and then okay, so the amphibia. I'm really curious what's going on with that, and then I don't know. I'm not saying for sure. I'm not saying I know for sure. There's rumors that the Rudis is coming out with a waterproof multi-frequency detector.
That'd be really cool.
I would like to see what that's capable of on the beaches. I know Luke with his Rudis, he got in Luke Higgins, he got into some really nasty field with tons of coke and hot rocks, and he didn't even feel like he could hunt it with his Rudis. And him and I were talking, and we kind of came up with some different ideas of settings he could try. And that was like on a Wednesday, and he was going out there that Saturday, I believe Saturday or Sunday. And anyhow, whichever day it was, like I'd kind of forgot about it. It was like 3 or 4 days earlier, and I get a message from him, and it's his Rudis, and the whole screen is piled up with old coins he'd found in that field he was struggling in so bad, and he got his settings right, and just that thing kicked butt. I'm really excited to see, and I'm hoping with that detector it finally makes it to the United States. If it's true, I mean, I don't have. It's not like I heard that from them or anything. But, well, no, I take that back. When I interviewed Eric from Rudis, I think he mentioned that, didn't he?
I just know he mentioned they were trying to get it to the U.S. and they were having some issues with some stuff, but I don't recall him saying he may have. I don't know, but that sure would be cool.
Yeah, for sure. Have you heard of the Rudis?
I have not, so I'm just listening to the different details you're talking about. Very interesting.
Yeah, the Rudis is made in Poland, and it's kind of been delayed making it to the United States, and I don't even know if the Rudis Alder 71, it's got 71 different frequencies. Just a really cool lightning fast. I've seen videos of it compared to the Deus, and don't believe anything you hear and only half of what you see. I know that, and but I've seen some comparisons where guys are saying it works better with masked objects than the Deus, and some of these guys the couple of videos I saw with it, they love their Deus. They're not putting the Deus down, but they think the Rudis, and it's lightning fast. It's got a VDI of 120, so it really separates targets out nice.
Wow.
If they could get that to run in saltwater on saltwater beaches
with that would be
with that
incredible.
120 VDI, yeah, wouldn't it?
That's a game changer if you can make that run on saltwater beaches with that type of separation, because it definitely separates very well. From my tests in my side yard with a lot of different, well, I borrowed some of my wife's rings and jewelry, and she doesn't know that, but she also doesn't listen to the podcast either, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, I had stuck a bunch of stuff in the yard the one time when she was gone, and tested it, and wow, it, like, whether it's, a normal size pop tab, a bigger, fatter pop tab, or, just a beaver tail, or there's like a million different types of aluminum pop tabs and stuff that you might come across, and it seems to hit slightly different on each one of those. And so the machine has to, if they make a one that would work on a saltwater beach, yeah, that seems to me
Well,
that it could be a game changer.
I'm wondering if this Alder 71 could already do it, because I mean, he said that field was a mess with coke and hot rocks, and I'm going to guess if he
may be able to.
Yeah, it might do pretty good.
It might be able to. Yeah. I've never tried it, obviously, but maybe it does okay as it is. But I would love to have a waterproof version, because me and mishaps go hand in hand.
What?
Well, me and taking care of things go hand in hand. Shocker, I know. Really?
Right. You're right.
Can you believe it?
So,
but one thing, Mike, I wanted to ask Elizabeth. With her days, what kind of, and I know I asked this question before to another guest, but I'm still curious. What type of life do you see, battery life, do you see on that machine, as far as how often do you have to recharge it? I mean, does it seem to hold up pretty well, or do you maybe you don't, I don't know, maybe you don't go out long enough, and then maybe you just charge it when you get home. I don't know, but I'm curious if the battery life is really good on that machine, or if you notice any difference running in different frequencies, if that makes any difference at all.
I haven't noticed a difference running in different frequencies, and it seems to hold up pretty well. I think if I went for 10 hours or 12 hours, I have done it once, ever 12 hours, affecting one day. It's about like halfway used up after 12 hours, the battery on the remote and the coil. Yeah, so it does go for quite a while.
Yeah,
it's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I know my 3030 would probably last 8 hours, and that would be it for the battery, and I'd have to switch to the actual battery pack, the rechargeable battery pack. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. One thing that's always thrown me about the Deus is charging the coil. Like, I just feel like I don't know. It just seems strange to me, but I don't know. It's a machine I might have to just buy. I need to buy that, and I'd still like to buy a Fisher F75 and maybe an Equinox and some other stuff. I don't know. Maybe I need a bigger house. Yeah, I think that's probably what I need to do.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised you haven't, the way that you love, but like, I don't know. If I had the money, Steph would have to she would kick me out, because there would be detectors everywhere.
Well, that's probably part of it, is that I try to not upset my wife too much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she doesn't get upset if I buy something. If I slide her a grand or two, then I'm like, here, have this money, and then I'm going to buy some more detectors, and then she won't say nothing. But when I start buying a bunch of stuff, and when she's a little strapped for cash, and I don't offer her any money or anything to relieve that situation, then she gets a little upset with me. So I've been trying to keep myself in check and in control. But I don't know. I guess for me, I'd much rather spend the money on something, take it out, test it, try it myself, and see if it does what I want it to do, or if it works the way I expected, rather than just wondering and not knowing. Because the not knowing for me is that doesn't fly. And when in doubt, test it out. That's what I go with. So, yeah, I don't know. So, but on the obviously the Deus is super light. Does how are the sounds? What would you compare the sounds that machine makes compared to? Is it? I don't know. I'm so used to like some of the sounds like from the Mind Lab equipment and the tones and stuff that I don't know if I could get used to easily the tones that come out of that machine. But I'm pretty sure, and I imagine that you really hear a lot of what's going on with the tones that do come out. It probably gives you quite a bit of information about the target itself. I would assume.
Yeah, it's a lot more squeaky and higher pitch sounds than the Mind Lab detector. The 5 frequency or the 5 tones that usually run at once, you can set it. Well, you can change that. So it can be a little kind of overreactive. Like there can be like falsing if you have like the sensitivity up too high. It's just I don't know. It's just a sound that you get used to, I guess. I customized one program to make silver really stand out and metals that have like a lower density. So it's very high pitched on that program. There's like the basic. There's like a basic program, a GM program, where you can hear a lot more of the lower frequencies, and I don't know. It's just you just get used to it, but it's definitely a different sound.
How does that machine do on falsing with some deep iron targets? Are you able to generally tell that it's a big rusty nail or bolt or something that's down there? Are you able to pick that out pretty well for the most part?
A lot of the time, yeah. But sometimes it's still it's to me it's obvious that it's an iron object because it only sounds good one way, and the one way that it does sound good is kind of iffy, questionable to begin with. But then it still happens where sometimes especially in the site I've been going to, where I get these signals and it sounds awesome, and it ends up being a nail. So that happens, but usually I can tell.
I have that happen to me from time to time too, and I think sometimes I talk myself into digging a target that I know isn't any good, but I'm like, maybe, and I do it and I dig it, and I'm like, I knew it was going to be a nail, but I had to do it.
Well, right, because it could be something really good mixed right next to the nail, and that could be why. Yeah. You just never know. So. Yeah, but it does that. It does. There's definitely lots of times I've had where it sounds awesome, and it's just a stupid piece of weird iron.
How far? One more question I had for you about that, and like I said, I've never had one in my hand, so other than videos and stuff I've watched on them, and how far does that machine collapse down to pretty small as far as the 3030 out of all the machines I have, even with the big coil on it, it's such a small when you collapse it back down. I mean, it's got a smaller footprint lengthwise than any other machine I have, and that's really great because it fits perfectly in a lot of different vehicles and doesn't take a lot of space. But I was wondering about that because that's one thing that I seem to really enjoy. I don't know why it bothers me so much, but I'd love to take the seats out of my vehicle and build a rack in there just for metal detectors, but unfortunately I got to tote my son and daughter around, and that doesn't I asked my wife one time, I said, well, what if I just got another vehicle that she's like, well, you already have 2 vehicles and I have a vehicle, so we don't need any more vehicles at the house. That's just a bad idea. So I guess I won't have the opportunity to build myself a nice detector rack inside my car. That would be cool, though.
See what a hot mess
Yeah.
he is? Hey,
Well,
next time you get a
it
few
sounds
minutes,
like,
give
yeah.
me a call, and I want you to tell me how you analyzed him and what you came up with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear myself.
Oh, well, I think that for traveling, so going to the airport and airlines, they only allow carry-on items within certain dimensions. So it has to fit inside the certain, like at Alaska Airlines, the suitcase for carry-on has to fit in a certain dimension. Well, the Deus will fit inside a carry-on, and it can go in a carry-on. So, yeah, it just folds all the way down. I just take the coil off of the base of it, and so that's nice, that part of it. If there's that. But, yeah, no, it folds down in the car pretty well.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's
I don't know. The Deus, I just know it really well. I just know the machine really well, so I'm just really used to it.
Last week I had
kind of stuck with it.
Last week I do a UK show now every week. I don't know if I told you that, but anyhow, every Thursday at 8 p.m. their time, which is 2 in the afternoon Central Time. And I had Gary Blackwell on last week, and one of the things
That's awesome.
Yeah, really nice guy. One of the things that we kind of talked about, or something I guess I said, is when that first came out, I thought it was going to be flimsy, and with the weight and stuff, everybody was talking about the weight, and how they got it to weigh so little, and yet I know people who go and have beat on those, beaten corn stalks for over 5 years and no issues. So they're really strong and lightweight, and that's a big selling point to a lot of people. I think there's something I've noticed doing the podcast and talking to some of the manufacturers is, and it kind of cracks me up because I always feel like they focus on the wrong thing. But, I feel like XP kind of pushes, it's a really lightweight detector. It's a really lightweight. Well, there's so much more to it than that. Like Tesoro kind of always pushed that they had the lifetime warranty, and although that's great, they work great for certain situations, but it is a big selling point to a lot of people. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt that weight's huge. That's amazing. And from what I've seen, and I'm sure you can attest to it, definitely they seem to be very durable and well built. So that obviously, because obviously you start thinking lightweight and you're thinking, okay, well, what did they do to make it so light? But from everything I've heard, they're super rock solid as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think they are. Yeah, I don't know. It allows me to go for a really long time and not have my arm get all messed up. That's nice. Although I haven't ever really tried taking a Mind Lab out for 12 hours to see how that goes. Maybe it would be fine.
I don't think you could do.
Your arm will fall off.
Yeah, I'm a big dude, and that CTX will wear me out.
The CTX doesn't bother me, but the E-Track will make my arm literally, my shoulder will literally hurt forever after extensive use of the E-Track. And though I love that machine dearly, I don't know. Now the CTX doesn't do that to me, and I generally, I'd say 9 times out of 10 have that 17-inch coil on the CTX, and that's the other question I had for you. Can you use a relatively, I mean, I don't know if your swing speed is fast or slow or kind of in between, but are you able to still really, like, if you swing a little faster and really just more or less cherry pick, and are you still really able to weasel a lot of good targets out of a fairly trashed out area with that machine, because it's supposedly pretty fast recovery? So, I mean, I'd imagine that can probably speed up and do still really good with that machine.
Yeah, you definitely can be faster with the swinging and still hear a lot. Yeah, as long as you're keeping the coil parallel to the ground. So it starts to kind of false out if you're not. So, yeah, no, it definitely allows for that. I mean, it's very obvious with the dais when something is right on the surface of the ground. And so sometimes you'll get multiple things on the surface, and then it'll just kind of rattle your ears with all the sounds. But that's probably the case for a lot of detectors. You can go through areas pretty fast with it. Still get stuff, definitely.
What's your favorite find of all time in your metal detecting career?
Well, there was really quite an experience a couple of years ago. I don't think can be topped ever. I mean, honestly, there's been a few. But this one, it was really amazing. This was 2 years ago at a state park where they allowed detecting for many years, and then last year closed it. So this was 2 years ago that I was out there, and I just decided I was going to kind of go up on this bank by under this tree, and it was a pretty old tree, and there was a coin spill under the tree, 4 coins, 2 silver $half, 1864, 1868. There was an 1888 quarter. There was an 1883 shield nickel, all mixed in, and that was pretty amazing. That definitely predates the park. That area was like 20 feet by 20 feet, definitely the oldest stuff out of that one section, and then it was just quiet. So something was going on there a long time ago. Yeah, that kind of, I don't know, that was amazing.
That is pretty cool.
Wow, that's more amazing than anything I ever found at any particular spot at one time, I'll tell you that.
Well, it was so funny because, they've had detecting in that park for years, and it was just under this tree, and it was obvious that no one had thought of that. The tree was right next to the boat launch. There was this asphalt road path down to the boat launch, and it was just, 10 feet, 15 feet away from that, and nobody had swung under the tree. Here it was like sitting there all that time, and 2 seated halves, a seated quarter. Yeah, shield nickel. So I don't know, but there was that, and then I think at the site I'm going to now, a couple of years ago, it was like a year and a half. There was a locket that I found, a gold locket, with just beautiful kind of floral and a bird on the front. And when I opened the locket, I didn't see anything at all. But kind of some time went by, and then just about a month ago, I actually opened it again and looked at it in the sunlight, and actually there were 2 pictures, one on each side, of a Victorian woman and a little girl. And so that was really amazing that had been sitting in there. So somehow the locket, the pictures survived. I couldn't see because it was like the cover on each side was really kind of dirty. One was just, I don't know, there was a lot of just some junk kind of stuff, and so I just didn't see it the first couple times. That's pretty amazing too. And so there was that.
Do you find that do you generally, when you go out detecting, do you take a friend with you, or do you like detect them by yourself, or do you hunt with some other people from your detecting club, or like, I personally, I love metal detecting with other people, even if it's a property that I've got permission on and I know I'm going to kill it. I'd much rather take someone out there with me just so that, I don't know, just I seem to have a much better time when I'm detecting with someone else than sometimes just by myself. Do you go detecting a lot with some of the people from your metal detecting club?
Oh, definitely. Absolutely. Recently, especially, I've gone with them a lot. But I do enjoy going by myself too. I did that for a long time. So I kind of like both about equally, I guess. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was just kind of curious because, it's funny because I like I said, I will. I mean, I go all the time by myself when I have opportunity to go and whatnot. But I don't know. I always feel like if I find that one like just amazing piece, which I don't know what it is, it would probably wouldn't even be gold. I don't think a gold coin would even get me that excited. But silver, I really like silver for whatever reason. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
When you're done with that, I want to ask, what's on your guys' bucket list? Do you have any finds that you want? You know what I mean? That are like on your bucket list of things you want to find.
That's a good question.
I'll go. I want to find a George Washington button, and I think my ultimate thing, I would love to find a slave tag. I know it's a dark part of our history, but I think it's, we shouldn't forget our history, and I think such a personal thing that it's just something I'd love to find.
That would be very interesting.
Have you found?
Yeah, despite the connotation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people that I think, we can't forget our history. What's that old saying?
Well, you have to you're not going to understand the present or the future if you don't look at the past and history,
right?
Where we've been with stuff.
Yeah, and that's just, I don't know. I've always wanted, being in Ohio and close to Cincinnati, I always wondered, because when they made it to Cincinnati was a huge place for the slaves to come through, and when they made it to Cincinnati, they were free. And I've always just imagined like a slave carrying that with them until they made it to Cincinnati and then throwing it. I don't know. It's just something I imagine in my head, and I'd love to find one. Hey, that's their freedom, and what an important part of history. But I've never even heard of one found there. Never even heard. And a George Washington button. Man, those things are cool.
Yeah.
What about you?
Really
So does that bring anything up? I'd love to find a Confederate button or a Confederate belt plate. Obviously, that would be really cool. I have found some Union stuff. I do have a Confederate bullet that's pretty cool. But just one. I found a dropped one.
Yeah. Well, what about you, Matt? What other things that you want to find?
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking about it, and yeah, obviously there's a lot of things that I would love to find, but I don't know. I mean, I don't really have anything that I say, man, I would love to find whatever, someday, and I think somewhere inside my head that probably comes down to, because if I ever found that, then I would say, okay, so it's not on my bucket list no more, and do I lose some? I don't know. I just don't really have a bucket list of things that I would love to find. I mean, I'm happy to find anything. In fact, I found a 1911 wheat penny the other day at a place that I've pounded a million times, and it was just a banging nice signal. It was beautiful signal.
Wow.
And I was, now granted, at 1911 wheat penny, whoop-de-doo, but this thing has just got such a beautiful patina on it, and it's in such great shape, and like that in itself made me super happy. So I don't know. It's weird. I don't long for certain finds of anything. I guess if anything, it would probably be, I would love to go find some old Roman coins and stuff like that. Yeah. But being that I'm not in the, maybe if Mike would have taken me up on my offer to buy him a plane ticket and earlier this year and take a nice adventure in across the pond, I could do that. But I don't know. There's nothing that I will say this, that there's no gold coin of any sort on my bucket list necessarily. I guess if anything, I wouldn't mind finding either some really old colonial coin of some sort. That I think would be really cool. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to. I don't want to spoil my. I'd hate to find something and say, "Oh, wow, I've spent all this time detecting, really hoping to find one of these, and now I found it." And I guess I have to come up with something else to put on my list to keep myself metal detecting. I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of weird like that, but so I'm pretty much happy with anything. I get excited. Anytime I find anything that I can take and, research and find out some more history about it and learn some new stuff is just exciting for me.
So I got to tell you guys this is funny. So Tom Dunn's in chat and he said, my bucket list was to find a hoard of silver coins, but once you really do find it, you feel kind of sad. He found 60 some silver coins in like most of them in one hole, but spread like a 5x5 area or maybe 10x10, and the newest one was like 1844. Yeah, we're not talking like mercs.
Straight up, so ridiculous.
Yeah,
like that still blows my mind.
We had him on the podcast.
And see, where do you go from there, though? Once you do that, man, and that's your bucket list, and you find it, you say, man, like, I don't know. I want my bucket list to be something that would be next to impossible to ever find, so that I don't want to ever find my bucket list coin or treasure of whatever it is, just because I don't know. I don't know. I think I'd be happier not ever finding it.
I see. I'm not like that. I'm very much, it doesn't get any less exciting each time.
Right.
I could find another or something and it would be just as amazing. I don't know. That's me though.
Yeah. I found years ago, a 1916D Merc dime, and it's kind of funny because a lot of people's like, well, what's next? And how are you going to top that? And the funny part about that is that's the only thing I've ever sold, because to me, it was just another Mercury dime. Now if that would have been something worth a couple $1,000s that was a relic, I could have never gotten rid of. I love relics. I have found so many Mercury dimes that didn't mean anything to me that it was a key date. It didn't, and it was actually easy for me to sell, and I've never looked back. But even if I would have kept it, it wasn't anything important to me. But there's always more to be found, and there's always great stuff out there. Really, I think for most of us, if you do find, if I found a Washington button, I would want to try to find another one, and I would still appreciate my finds. It wouldn't, take away from, other stuff. I don't know. That's kind of my thought on it.
Yeah. I don't expect to ever have a situation happen again like what happened 2 years ago. But if it was even one seated $50 again, that would just be super, super exciting. And I just don't get tired of it at all. I feel like I definitely want to get a gold coin because that hasn't happened yet. Older silver coins too, because there's not necessarily a chance for that over here in Washington State. That would be, just early 1800s would be really cool.
Now you do some traveling, right?
There's a lot. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where do you? Don't you go to Pennsylvania or something?
I didn't. I was going to do that a year ago, but I didn't. Most recently, I went to the East Coast to New York and Connecticut in June this year. That was really fun. Really, really, really fun. I got my first ever large cent at a place we stayed in Connecticut. And it was with Team Empire, and I made them a video. Well, we all kind of made it together, and so that was really, really good to meet them. Really great people. And then I've done several metal detecting trips outside of that one to the East Coast.
Very cool.
and to South Carolina also.
Ooh, that's some good detecting down there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Go ahead, Matt.
Mike, I have to know. This is kind of off subject. Do you guys dig a lot of marbles up with other finds when you're digging? I've dug some amazing cool marbles, and sometimes I'm more excited about some of those than some of the other things, coins I dig up. But I've got some really cool marbles that I dug over the years, and I was just curious if that seems to be like all over the place, or if that was like so if it's kind of common all over the place to find a lot of old marbles down in the ground too, with when you're digging stuff up.
I mean, it has been for me. Definitely, they're hard to miss because they're just mixed in there, and it's so funny because there's still people will say, "Did you find that with the detector?" And I'm like, "No, of course I didn't find
I
that."
can't believe how many people have asked me that before. Oh my God. I've had people ask me if a metal detector can find paper bills, and I'm like,
oh jeez.
I don't know if I should even respond or just keep walking. Yeah.
It's like, well, what do you, like, I don't know. It's so weird.
So I got to tell you guys this. This is funny. My first co-host was a friend out of Pennsylvania, Bob, and he tells a funny story how one time his wife, I forget how it came up. I don't think it was ring. She lost her engagement diamond or something. And he went over there and detected and couldn't find it. And come to find out, she didn't lose her ring. She lost her diamond in the grass. And he's like, oh, man, it detects metal. It won't do diamonds. Yeah, and he was out there in like middle of summer sweating his butt off. I like that story. You and people, I just recently had somebody ask me, will I detect arrowheads? No, they will not. It's got to be metal.
People always ask me that too. Do you find arrowheads with that thing? Yeah, no, sure can't. Although I did dig a hole. It was this year. I dug a coin when I was digging a Civil War token. Well, what I thought was going to be another one turned out it was a deep rusty nail. But I saw something shining when I was about 14 inches down, maybe 12 inches down into this hole. There was this thing, I thought it was a piece of broken glass or something, and I went to grab it, and when I pulled it up, I'm like, oh, wow, it was a nice, real nice, beautiful little arrowhead that just happened to be down in that hole that I was digging, so that was kind of cool.
That's really cool. I'd love to find an arrowhead. That hasn't happened yet.
No.
Oh, that's really cool.
Of course, but then the only problem is, once again, then I tell the story, and people are like, oh, that thing can find arrowheads? And I'm like, no, you're not listening to what I'm saying here. It just magically just happened to be in the, so people crack me up. They don't, a lot of people don't understand what a metal detector, or exactly that it detects metal, which I would think was obvious from the name, but I guess not. But
yeah. Well, there is such a thing as a stupid question. There really is. So.
I hate to admit it, but it is true. Yeah, there's a lot of them. The thing is, like, I love talking to people in general. So people ask me a lot of silly things, and I run into a lot of people. I don't know. I must have a big sign on my back that says, "Hey, I'll talk to anybody. So if you're crazy, come talk to me, because this guy will probably listen to you ramble on about random stuff forever." So, yeah, there's a lot of crazy people that have tracked me down over the course of my metal detecting endeavors. And it's interesting. Like I said, I enjoy really talking to people. So I guess it's not the end of the world. But when people start asking me if it's a Geiger counter, I'm like, no. Like, oh my Lord, it's a metal detector.
One I get all the time that I love, because years ago I came up with a solution, is, even at a public park, and it's like somebody will walk by as they're walking by, and they'll, with this smart ass look on their face, they'll say, we split everything you find, right? And they've got this smirk on their face like they came up with this original thing, like it hasn't been like that hasn't been said to me 5,000 times. And what I do is I reach into my trash pocket and grab a handful of trash, and I will literally like, yeah, here's your half. No, here's your half. I'll chase them down a little bit. Like, no, here's your half. And there's pieces of canned slaw and trash and nails and they're just like, no, you keep it. You keep it. And all of a sudden they change their, but like it gets me because it's like one of those original, they think they're so funny and being original. It's like, man, I've heard that 50,000 times, it's like, geez.
Yeah. And I'm the same thing. It's very hilarious because, and it's the thing is they always seem to think it's the most original thing ever. And you're like, yeah, we've heard it 1,000 times. It's not even funny.
Yeah, or I'm so tired of like, did you find my gold Rolex? I was listening.
Yeah, I hear that one.
Yeah.
Like, did you find? Hey, if you found a gold ring, it's mine. Okay, well, I'm not looking for gold, so you're out of luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
The same stuff, man, over and over and over, and I think it's so funny, man. I'm just like, oh God, like we've all heard that a million times. That's funny.
Well, I had one guy one time, Mike, tell me, "Hey, if you find my gold, if you find the gold teeth, those are mine." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, a long time ago, I had these gold teeth, and I got upset, and when they were dentures of some sort, and they were gold teeth, and he threw them out in the yard apparently, and apparently they're still out there now. I never did come across them, but he claims they're still out in his yard, and if I found them, that they were actually his." And I'm like, if I find gold teeth, I'm probably going to keep them just because they're cool, but I don't know.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of people who talk to me and they look at what I'm doing and the detector is not hidden or obscured behind like a bush or anything like that. They have no idea what I'm doing. They see the detector, the whole thing. They have no idea. They're like, what are you, the way that they talk, it's like they've never even heard of metal detecting. It's weird. They're like, baffled by like, what on earth is that, and
yeah, I've had that happen as well, where and they just like completely have no clue what the machine you're using possibly could be doing. They have no idea. And then when you try and explain it to them, sometimes it's like you might as well be talking to the wall because it's not clicking, man. Yeah, it's very interesting. I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of people that need to get out more, or go on YouTube more often or something, and just learn some new things, because it's surprising to me that that people have never heard of or seen a metal detector before. That's kind of interesting.
I love some of the stories involved in that. I've got a funny one. A guy I talked to years ago. I haven't talked to him in years, but anyhow, he was telling me how he was out metal detecting and neighborhood kids were hanging out with him and stuff while he's out metal detecting in this park. And it was an old park. He was hoping for some old coins, and this lady was watching him, and finally she got up and she come over and she said, something along the lines, here, take this $10 and go buy yourself something. I've been watching you try to find coins over here. And he actually laughed and he said, I've got about $1,500 worth of equipment here. I'm not broke. I'm looking, but here she felt bad for him. And, stuff like that. I know another guy, he was metal detecting by himself in a kind of a rough park. And this guy was really watching him, and he even came over and sat on. It was a soccer field, and he came over and sit down on the little bleachers and was watching him. And finally, he got up and walked towards him and gave him like $20, and he's like, "Here, man, go buy." He thought he was getting ready to get jumped, and here this guy's trying. No, I don't need your money, And but it's funny because yes, a lot of people don't get. They just don't even get it.
Yeah, like it's just like I don't. It's so I don't know. Like I don't know.
Mike, I've had that happen to me up in Akron actually. I was detecting. I was going right down I started at one place. I had permission, then right down the whole block. I was working because the neighbors would come out, ask me what I was doing. I'd have a talk with them, and I'd work myself right into their yard and so on. And the one guy said, "Man, are you looking for money? You need some money." And I said, "No, no, no. Well, I'm looking for coins. I'm not looking for money. I don't need any money. That's not I'm looking for old money. I don't need any money, but thank you, but no." And that's the guy that also came out, and he's like, "Can I get a picture of you?" And I said, "For what?" And he's like, "For prosperity, man." And I'm like, "Okay." He went back in his house, grabbed the digital camera, came back out, and he was all excited. He said, "Man, that's prosperity." He's like, "You're cool. I've never seen anybody metal detecting around here." And I'm like, "Well, probably they're afraid they're going to get shot, so that's probably why no one's." It was in a pretty rough area too, and but I was like, so I ended up detecting his yard too. I don't remember if I found any silver in his yard or not, but he was all excited and super happy to have a picture of me with my metal detector. I was like, okay, whatever.
That's funny. Davey M in chat said I had someone throw coins in the ground for me. That's funny.
Yeah, oh yeah, I've had that too.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's there's a lot of it's funny because you see so many different types of people. At least I run into so many different types of people, and it's interesting, what people know and don't know, what they think you're doing. I have a lot of people ask me sometimes, like, "Are you looking for a pipeline? Are you working for the city? Or And then I always get, "Hey, you think you can come over and find my property markers?" I'm like, "Absolutely. If you let me metal detect your yard, I'll find them for you. Not a problem at all."
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Have you had anything crazy happen to you while you've been out metal detecting?
Yeah, no, definitely. There was one woman this one time who just went crazy and was yelling at me. And she walked to, I was really far away. I was detecting sidewalks, and she walked like all the way down across from the other side of the neighborhood, and just she just went berserk. And she was like, "You're detecting on private property." And I said, "No, it's not. This is a sidewalk. This is public utility." And she yelled at me, and she was like, "You're a gold digger." And I said, "Okay." And like, she said I was looking for rings dropped by drug dealers, and I said, "No, I'm trying to find old coins in the sidewalk." Anyway, and she got crazy, and then just decided she was going to walk away, and said she was going to call the federal government to see what they think about it. And I was like, "All right, okay."
That's funny. Yeah, you'll run into some crazy stuff, and I think the craziest thing that's kind of happened, or at least definitely eye-opening, was I was hunting with a club, and there was a school that it was a newer school, but there was a bunch of land behind it and a bunch of stuff. But it was in a bad neighborhood, and there had been a school there much earlier, and some really good stuff came out of there. And this SUV that I have to assume was stolen came flying through the grass, feet from some of us, just feet. And he was probably doing 50, 60. Then he just started doing donuts in the field, and it's like, "Yep, I'm out of here." And we all packed up and left. And a while later, within months, I would say, a cop, a retired police officer, and myself and another guy, he wanted to take us to these curb strips, and there was a big center strip, and it was in an old part of town. And he said, "Man, I bet there's some stuff here." And it was the ghetto of Columbus. And we pull up and park, and across the street there's a house with yellow tape around it, and we're detecting, and this carload of guys kept driving around the block and staring us down and stuff. And one guy came out real nice, and the retired cop was asking about the house that was taped off. He's like, "Yeah, he took the old man there took a stray bullet, and it killed him in a drive-by shooting." And it was then that I realized there is nothing in this ground that is worth being here for. You know what I mean? So, like, I really try to stay out of the ghettos and stuff now. You never know. I mean, that's kind of scary when there's a house with yellow. Yeah, he died. It was like a common thing there. Yeah, he got killed. He got hit by a stray bullet from a. I'm just like, I don't need this. I'm out of here. So
Wow, yeah.
I really try to stay out of the ghettos, and it's just not worth it. I mean, I know people that do it and have never had issues, but those guys that kept driving around the block and eyeballing us, I'm just like, this doesn't look good. Of course, we all had guns. I mean, we all had guns on us, but I don't want to have to detect with a gun. That ain't my thing. I realized that day I'm done with all that. Mm-hmm. Yep. Did you guys fall asleep on me? We gone too long?
No, I'm just thinking, man.
No.
I've spent some time in the ghettos before detecting, and pretty much when I show up to the ghetto, you would probably think I'm a homeless person the way I'm dressed, and if you didn't know anything about detectors, that's better off so that you don't know, what kind of money I got into some of the stuff I have, and I try and keep it pretty low key, and I haven't detected any crazy places. It's been probably a couple years now since I've really spent some time hitting some of these areas that were probably. I look back on it, I'm like, yeah, some of those areas I probably shouldn't have been there by myself detecting because, things can go south quickly. But I used to kind of enjoy it. I just, I don't know, because there's some nice, and there's such nice. I find a lot of spots that unfortunately have just been neglected a lot, over the years. And what was, beautiful, big, huge houses at one point in time in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and they've just really been trashed out and ran down. And there's just some really cool potential for some of those properties, which draws me to, trying to get permissions on them. But yeah, I don't know. I try and stay out of some of those areas that where I used to find myself. It's it sucks when you're kind of looking over your back constantly to just make sure there's no one coming up behind you or anything like that. But I did find some cool stuff in a lot of cool places like that, though.
What's it like where you detect, Elizabeth? Do you got to worry about that kind of stuff?
Not so much. There are certain areas of Seattle that are probably not a good idea, but I don't know that in comparison that it's really worth it because there may or may not be stuff there, but there's definitely stuff other places. So I guess I just never really tried areas that are not so great. Yeah. But it's, for the most part, most areas are pretty safe. I haven't really had any really scary experiences or anything, fortunately.
Yeah. I'm surprised in the dumps. I'm guessing you come across bones and stuff sometimes. I'm probably not human, but it's probably still
all the
freaky.
time.
Right?
The time.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's got to be a little freaky.
Well, it's very clear that it's an animal bone, but maybe that's I'm biased, I guess. With doing a medical program or something, I can tell. But yeah, there's a lot of bones. Definitely. A lot of clamshells. People like.
Do you ever go look for any old privies or do any privy digging at all?
I would love to. I haven't, though. I would love to do that. I just recently was told that you look for the lilac bushes on the property because lilac bushes, yeah.
Yeah, and look for a lot of times you'll see the ground sunk in where the privy was. The dirt settles, and if they've never, filled it in, a lot of times they don't. You'll see where it sunk in, and it's actually, you would want a crew to go with you. You'd want 3 or 4 people because it's a lot of work, but it's so cool. And I would make up um, a sifter and take your detector. I mean, I've seen some really cool stuff like buttons and buckles and coins even come out of privies. The first privy I ever dug,
Absolutely.
two really unique railroad buttons and an Indian head came out of it, along with a
That's
ton
so
of bottles.
awesome.
Ton of bottles. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really neat. If you ever get the opportunity, it's really fun. And I'll tell you, I know people that do it pretty regularly and that metal detect as well. And well, I'll two guys. I'm not saying a bunch of people. Two guys, and they've both told me they feel like it's easier to get permission to dig a privy than metal detecting. And the only thing they can figure is, sometimes you mention metal detecting and people think you're going to find all their hidden gold. When you talk about digging up the old privy, they think of, they don't think that. And, I know some guys will offer, we'll dig it up, we'll lay everything out, and we'll take turns picking. We'll draw straws. Whoever goes first gets to pick and down the line. Or some people don't want any. Yeah, just dig it up. You can have everything out of there you find. No big deal, and stuff
Wow,
like
that's an
that.
interesting point.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and if you get you a rod for locating pipes, they're cheap, and it's got to be made out of spring steel. And if it's brick or stone lined, you'll feel it and just keep probing around until you've got the wall. Wood liners, you'll feel a difference in. I could never find a wood liner. There's people that have been doing it for years that can do it, but wood liners, you'll feel different resistance in the ground. But they're actually pretty easy to find. I mean, like say a house in town, a small lot. They're usually on the towards the back or at least halfway, and on the side where you're least with least exposure. And just, if there's a sidewalk, they're usually right off the sidewalk. And I mean, there's a lot of things. A lot of the Sanborn maps will show them. I hope you get an opportunity to do that sometime. It's really interesting.
That's very interesting. That really it makes me wonder, too, if that would work over here if I try to get permission for the privy instead of the rest of the property.
It would.
Instead
I mean,
of,
you're going to get turned down, but a lot of people are okay with it. And take tarps, cut the sod real nice once you've found it. Lay the sod out real nice, and then fill all your dirt on a tarp so you can put it back in easy, and it's not in the grass and all that. And you can actually piece them back together really nice, really nice. So yeah, if you ever get the opportunity, it's very cool. You guys, we about done with this show. We've been at it over 2 hours, and
yeah, I gotta get up early. I gotta go to PA tomorrow, and oh yeah.
I'm just proud I never snored, never fell asleep this. I am sorry, guys. That little sick boy was up all night, and
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, we're good.
Man.
Yeah, we can stop now.
Okay.
If you like, that's fine.
Did you have anything you want to add or want to talk about? Or I mean, I'm okay if we need if you got anything you want to talk about, but.
My little BPOE pin turned out really good. The brooch, it's like it looks really good.
Will you take a picture when you take a picture and add it to All Metal Mode?
Sure,
Facebook
absolutely.
Group? I'd appreciate that.
The Facebook group, totally. Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Now, when you found that? When did you find that?
Today.
That's very cool. Yeah. I know we kind of covered it, but you have found some other really cool stuff. I can't really think. I know that case really.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there was something else you found that same day or in that picture. What was that? That was really ornate, and it was silver as well.
I think it was the makeup thing, right? The makeup little compact thing.
Is that
the
what
one
it
you're
was?
thinking of?
I couldn't really tell what it was. It was just really ornate silver. Really ornate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, it's a little. little. I mean, it's probably that one that you're thinking of. There was also like the handle to a shoe. What is it called? Shoehorn kind of thing.
Shoehorn, yeah.
Silver
probably.
handle, yeah. And then some other type of sterling thing that I'm not quite sure what it was for. Mhm.
Very cool. Yeah, very cool. I'm going back to Ohio in first week of November, and I can't wait to get in those fields and do some detecting.
Yeah, I get to give Mike a
that's fun.
detecting lesson when he's coming back.
Whatever.
Oh.
Whatever.
You want to put like $1? Well, I'd say $1 or $5 on the coolest find or the oldest find.
I'm gonna bet if you win either, I'm gonna take my Predator Tools shovel to your legs. You're in Ohio and get to hunt that cool stuff all the time, so it better be me is all I'm saying. No, I hope
not
you
as
find
much
some
as
good
I'd
stuff.
like. I wish I could get out more. I mean, I'd get out as much as possible, but I mean, there's unfortunately this whole apparently you got to take your son to football practice, and your daughter this and that. Yeah, you know how that's
listen,
crazy.
Elizabeth, if you want little minions running around, I'm just warning you, it cuts into metal detecting so much. And like, a couple years ago, I listened to music. I went metal detecting all the time and just did what I wanted. And now it's like I got little ball and chains with me everywhere, and we listen to Disney music, and I find myself singing to it and jamming out to
Let It Go.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Oh, I know that song, and right now it's Baby Shark. Do 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 do. I get that. I wake up with Baby Shark in my head.
So like a few weeks ago, you had mentioned that to me. And I had never heard it when you said it. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. It literally that same day, I went home. I come in the house, and my wife and daughter, Baby Shark, do 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 do, and I'm like, oh, you guys got to be kidding me! This is what Mike was just talking about.
Oh man, it's hell.
And since then, I've heard it like 8 billion times now.
I mean,
I think that thing has it's got like billions of views on YouTube.
Oh yeah, it's huge.
It's crazy.
All I'm saying, Elizabeth, just if you're going to have kids, hey, I love my kids, and they're amazing.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I do
too. But it just turns your world upside down, and I'm just telling you, I'm warning you, that's all. Are you guys talking about having little minions?
We don't know what we're going to do with that.
Listen, go visit nieces and nephews. Do you got nieces and nephews? Stick with that. Just stick with that. I'm kidding. They're great, but it's amazing, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. But it is definitely and I'm old, at 42 to be doing that. It's like, what was I thinking? What was I thinking? But
well, they definitely take over. Yeah. They take over everything.
Spit,
but
and
it goes quick too, man. I tell you. I mean, seems like just yesterday my son was born, and he's almost 7 now, and my other son would be 6, but and then my daughter, she'll be 2 this December, and let me tell you, she is a handful.
A little finisher. All right, guys.
That's right.
Yeah, let's wrap this up. And if you think about having kids and you want some advice, get a hold of me. Trust me, get a hold of me before you do it. No, they're amazing.
Yeah.
It is so amazing, but it's definitely like a huge change, and I love it. But it's like, I want to go metal detecting. It's like, oh, I got the kids. It's like, I want to listen to some music, but the kids we're listening to Disney. So we're going to do that. All right, guys, let's wrap it up. Good night. Elizabeth, thank you for coming on. It's always fun to have you on.
You're welcome.
Keep in
very
touch
nice
with
talking
us.
to you.
And congratulations on the marriage proposal, and that's awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
awesome.
you.
Good deal. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, we'll talk to you guys later.
Okay.
Well, there you have it. We wrapped up another one, and boy, I'm tired. I'm sorry, guys. I wasn't myself tonight. Hopefully, we'll get the kids feeling better and everything else, and we'll be doing better. So, good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.
The All Metal Mode podcast is sponsored by Digger's Den. If you are looking for a metal detector, get in touch with Mike or Brian. Together, they have years of experience with many different brands and models. They also truly enjoy what they do. You can contact them through Facebook at Digger's Den, visit the website at dddetectors.com, or give Mike a call. He makes it sound like it's so hard raising our boy, but trust me, he has time. 937-414-4578.